Little Christian continued on the way of the king, so relieved to lose his burden at the cross. He'd been told to go to a special palace to receive something to help him on his journey to the celestial city. When he eventually arrived, he met the doorkeeper, whose name was Watchful. "What palace is this?" Little Christian asked. "It's called the Palace Beautiful," said Watchful, "and it belongs to the king. He built it for his pilgrims to use. Are you going to the celestial city?" "Yes," answered Little Christian. "I slept last night at the house of the interpreter. Do you think I may stay here until the morning?" "Well," said Watchful, "I will call the lady of the house, and if you are one of the king's little pilgrims, she will take care of you." So they went together to the door of the palace, and the doorkeeper rang the bell. Indeed, Little Christian was welcomed into the Palace Beautiful by a lady called Discretion, who had 3 daughters, Selfless, Patience, and Charity. He spent 3 whole days at the Palace Beautiful, actually, and on the second day, Discretion allowed him to see the armoury. This was a large room in which were stored all kinds of weapons for the use of the king's servants. Here, Christian saw long rows of shining helmets, shields, and breastplates of the finest brass, glittering swords, and shoes which Charity told him could never be worn out. And he noticed that these things were not all intended for grown-up people. There were helmets which he felt were too small even for him, and tiny swords which seemed only fit for children to play with. "Are they toys?" he asked. "No," said Selfless, "they are for the little pilgrims." Then Christian could not help thinking how very much he would like to have a sword and shield of his own and be one of the king's little soldiers. Selfless sat down by one of the windows in the armoury and told Christian about the wonderful things which some of the king's soldiers had done. The story he liked best was that of a boy named David, who, when he was young, had fought with a great giant and had been able to kill him. "The giant was one of the king's enemies," said Selfless, "and he thought he could easily kill little David. He was covered with armour from head to foot, and David wore only a shepherd's dress and carried neither sword nor spear." "What did he fight with?" asked Christian. "He had a sling and a stone, and when he threw the stone at the giant, the king helped him, and he aimed so well that he struck the giant on the forehead and killed him." This story comforted little Christian, for if the king had helped David, no doubt he would be ready to help any other little pilgrim who trusted in him. On the 3rd day, Christian was chatting with Selfless. Christian looked out of a window of the palace, and far away in the distance noticed a long range of beautiful hills. He could even see the streams sparkling in the sunlight as they flowed down into the quiet valley. "Oh," he exclaimed, "what a lovely country that must be." "Yes," said Selfless, "that is Emmanuel's land, and the way of the king passes through it. The hills are called the Delectable Mountains, and from them you'll be able to see the gates of the celestial city." "Will it take me long to get there?" asked Christian. "I don't know," answered Selfless. "You are a little pilgrim, and you cannot travel very fast." Just then they heard the voice of Discretion calling to them. "We must let little Christian start in good time," she said, "in order to reach the valley before the sun is full." "I am ready," began Christian, but Charity interrupted him. "No, he is not ready, is he, Mum? We have something more to do for him, have we not?" "Yes," replied Discretion, and she led the way to the armoury. Between the palace and the celestial city, the king's enemies are often very troublesome, and even the little pilgrims need to carry weapons. Christian's cheeks glowed with pleasure when he found that he was really to have a suit of armour for his very own, and Discretion and her daughters seemed pleased also. "You must take care of your armour," said Discretion, as she chose out a helmet of the right size. "It must always be kept bright and shining." Then Selfless brought him a shield, which was just large enough to protect him and not too heavy for him to carry. Patience fastened the sword at his side, and Charity fitted his shoes. And then, when he was completely dressed, Discretion bent down and kissed him, as she'd done before, saying, "May the blessing of the King go with you, my child, and may you continue his faithful soldier and servant all the days of your life." Little Christian felt too happy to speak, so he just put his arms round Discretion, as if she'd been his own mother, and she well understood that his heart was full of love and gratitude. "You must thank the King," she said. "It is he who gives you all these things."